podcast was recorded on location at the Wild Sheep Society of BC's Western Hunting Expo in Penticton. My friend Sean said, Trav, you got to bring up some of your recording equipment. Let's record a podcast while we're up there. The good folks at the Beretta Group offered to let us use their booth to record this podcast in. If you're not familiar with the Beretta Group, they own Sakotika, Beretta, Norma Ammunition, and a whole slew of other companies that I'm sure you've heard of. They are the oldest firearms business in the world. They're coming up on 500 years of operation, which is crazy. And they are generously providing all Silvercore Club members with 25% off of all regularly priced clothing on the Stoker Canada website and 10% off everything else. I bring this up because I'm extremely proud of what the Silvercore Club is able to offer. I love the Beretta Group. I use Beretta shotguns. I use Sakotika rifles. I wear the clothing, and I want to be able to share the things that I like with other people and with the Silvercore Club members. If that helps you get outside and look stylish and have kit that works, I want to be able to help you thrive in the outdoors. Now, without further ado, let's get on with this episode. We've got Sean Zubor from Silvercore Podcast 107 and 108, and Joe Eppele from Silvercore Podcast 140. Missing, we will have to just send our regrets. Missing is Kyle Stetler from Silvercore Podcast. If I remember right, it was number 38. He was one of the early guys on there.
OG. Wow.
He was an OG, yeah.
The fact that you memorized that is very impressive.
I'm not going to lie. I got on the phone and I had to look it up ahead of time. And I will forget all of that in a couple hours.
Look, I can barely remember my name. The fact that you did that was great.
It's pretty cool how we're able to bring all these different cultures together. I walked through at the trade show here. So, Sean, you've got Stonehouse Realty. That's your business.
Yep. So we're selling real estate, but as you guys know, my main gig is selling high-rises and all the other kind of commercial jazz, but my passion and heart has always been in hunting since I was 10 years old. So putting one and two together, we're helping people. We're moving guide outfitters now, looking for properties like lakefront properties and rural properties, hunting properties, fishing properties, and yeah, it's a blast. We've met a ton of people, got a lot of new clients, a lot of new friends. It's been an awesome show so far.
Yeah, I'm loving the vibe of this show too. And it was funny. It's been pointed out more than once on this show that if Wild Sheep really wants to promote this and get women into the Wild Sheep Society, just let them know that there's affluent, fit, bearded,
attempted bearded,
Yeah. And Joe, of course, you were emceeing the event there last night.
Trying to.
Yeah. Are you doing it again tonight?
I'm not. I'm off the hook. I think that's part of the reason why Kyle wasn't able to join us is he's got to do all of the heavy lifting this evening.
Got it. So he's going to be in front of the mic doing the MC bit. And
Absolutely.
I just wanted to point out, too, that I'm 6'1", and I may look really short in this video, but I'm actually not that short. These guys are just giants.
I think that's why we positioned you to the front by the camera. So
it actually
had that depth of field.
It actually was.
Yeah, I've never felt like a midget my entire life until today. So, but that's funny, actually. You mentioned it. So my girlfriend was straight up saying that. She's got a friend that's single, and she's like, she should be here. Every guy here is 6'5" and taller, it feels like, all working out, all doing well. It's a great community, definitely.
No, I mean, look at all the guys walking around, just rugged mountain men that can get out there and survive off the land. What more could a gal want?
Exactly.
Right?
Ladies, you got to get into sheep hunting or at least hunting and come to the show. Join the Wild Sheep Society.
So that's an interesting one, too, because Wild Sheep Society is something people say, well, I'm not interested in sheep. Why? I like moose hunting. I like deer hunting, but sheep? But it's so much more than just sheep. The Wild Sheep Society concentrates on habitat, and they concentrate on the same grounds that the deer are going to be on, that the moose are going to be on, that the elk are going to be on.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that. So right now we just implemented this program that every home that we sell, we're putting a small portion away. Our goal is to fundraise between $5,000 to $10,000 next year for the Wild Sheep Society, right? But I tell my clients, and they're like, but don't you hunt them? I'm like, so you're trying to make more so you can shoot them? I'm like, yeah, kind of. But the reality is, and I think everybody that's into conservation, into hunting, knows that almost all conservation, if not all of it, comes from hunters one way or another. And especially with the Wild Sheep Society, it's about having a legacy that our kids and our families down the line will be able to hunt these sheep for years and years and years. And I think one thing is a big misconception for myself anyways. I've hunted everything my entire life, and I feel like sheep hunting is something that is just as much of an adventure as it is hunting in and of itself. But it's a funny conversation with clients when you're telling them these things, because it seems like an oxymoron that, we do harvest these animals, we do kill them, but the reality is you do it very, very few and far between in comparison to how many times you go out. But the fact that they're there because of societies like this is huge.
And the funds raised at events like this go back into, it's so much more than just harvesting an animal and putting more on the mountain. It's about education on making sure when you do harvest an animal, how to harvest the right one, make sure you're focusing on mature age class. And then also the funds go to habitat restoration, habitat protection, different areas where, farm sheep are getting too close to our wild sheep, introducing diseases, a lot of that stuff that most people aren't aware of. That's what a lot of these funds go towards. So it's a habitat restoration. Right now, huge projects going along the Fraser River with Movi, what's been going on there, the capturing, testing, making sure we're moving those diseased sheep. So it's a lot of that goes on, and that stuff has so much more impact in the big, picture. So yes, the community does harvest and remove some of those rams, but the number of rams that are back on the mountain because of groups like Wild Sheep Society BC, and if you look at it, look at the numbers, no group in conservation period, from what I have seen, is making sure that the money that comes in goes directly out, boots on the ground projects for everything.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what the Wild Sheep Society actually does, and what everybody here is to really support that. We all love the gear. We all love, and we're going to talk about that. And huge shout out to Tika for letting us use their booth, and all the guys at Italian and everybody else. But you're here for the sport, the love, the hobby of sheep hunting. But the reality is everybody's just as behind actually like I've never been to any kind of event where everybody's doing every kind of 50-50 draw or gun draw or this, everybody's putting money into everything, and they know the likelihood of winning is close to zilch, like every other draw, right? But it's, for them, it's just a way of giving, and it's something that really impresses me how tight-knit this specific community is really started to become.
Yeah, the amount of money these organizations raise. Wild Sheep Foundation in the States.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
How much did that ticket go for? Wasn't that a record? A record
$700K or something US?
No, I thought it was over $1 million.
Over $1 million?
Wasn't it over $1 million?
Yeah, I think the I'm trying to remember the exact number. See, you have all the numbers. You're the man with the numbers. You're supposed to have them all memorized.
I commit that one to memory ahead of time.
This is where we need Kyle. Kyle would have that on the tip of his tongue. Absolutely.
Actually, Joe, I got something here for you.
Oh my God.
I was going to give it to you last time I was at your place. Completely forgot. There you go. Here's an official crab measure when you're out there in Squamish. Yes, it has my name on it, so if it gets lost, it'll be returned.
I love it. That is a big boy crab measure. I got this little rinky-dink thing, but this is absolutely perfect.
Floating on that guy. You're out there. You're in the water. Drop it. It's all good, and it's not going to break or crack. That's a commercial crab measure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, not a problem. I forgot that one from the last time.
I love it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I see here at the show. Everybody here is very, very passionate about the outdoors. And we've got hunters, we've got anglers, we have people who are into mountain hunting, we've got people who are into whitetail, into blacktail, into mule deer, into moose. It's the whole gamut here. But when I talk with people, what it really boils down to, it's just their love of being outside. Just their love with that connection with their natural environment.
Yep. I think the world we're in right now, I think there's a lot of positive change happening. There's been a lot of crazy stuff over the last few years or decades, and we've been kind of, what's the best way, going away from our traditions of hunting. But I think a lot of guys out there, you have the Joe Rogans of the world, the you guys, that are really kind of promoting what it's all about. And I think I think the general public, and I'm hoping that this is coming across, the general public is starting to realize it's not just about killing animals. It's really about getting out there. It's a community. It's family. It's so many different things. It's wildlife in it of itself, protecting our resources, right? Even if we look at history, there wouldn't be any national parks in the States if there wasn't Theodore Roosevelt, and
sure.
One of my idols, and that guy was a massive hunter, right? So it's nice to see it becoming cool again, for lack of a word, to get out there and hunt.
Why do you think that is? Why is it becoming cool again?
Joe, what do you think?
It's because of people like Joe.
Yeah, that's
I would not put my name on that one. I honestly think everybody hates to talk about COVID, but I think during COVID there was a big push when we had all those confined. You weren't allowed to travel outside. Then they deemed food acquisition as an essential service, so people could fish and people could hunt and still travel. But it seemed like everybody stopped being so busy with traveling to distant places, and they started looking at what was around them. But I think there was a big push back into holistic nutrition, becoming physically fit, getting outdoors. And I did notice a big uptake. I think that was some of the biggest spikes we've had in fishing license sales, new tags, new hunters coming into the fold from what I read back then. And I just think it's transition. People really slowed down and looked at what mattered the most. And you talked about it earlier. It's all these people getting together about their love of the outdoors. All it takes is that first trip into the mountains for most people. And right away, you either know if you love it or you hate it. And I think the vast majority of people have forgotten how much they truly love and rely on the outdoors. Because the outdoors teaches you so much about who you are as an individual, but it's also an opportunity. I mean, you see a lot of families walking around here with their kids, their second, third generation in the society. And it's an opportunity for you to get out, completely disconnect from everything and soak up what really matters the most. I mean, you get out there, it's humbling. It doesn't matter if there's a lot of guides walking around here. You see guys at guide camp. There's millionaires and there's wrench pullers in the same hunt camp. And it's everything's broken down to the basics. And I think that's a big part of what people are starting to see again is, in a time where there's so much divide between groups, everybody seems like they're splitting. Finding a community that's it brings everybody back together. And it doesn't matter, if you're the richest guy in the room, the poorest guy in the room, whatever it is, like the mountains, you can't cheat the mountains. The mountains don't lie, right? Everybody is on the same playing field once you get out there. And I think there's just something special about that. And I mean, you guys see it this weekend, like it's just such a good, warm environment being here this weekend. The banquets, you sit down and it's just, everybody's there having fun together. It's that kind of traditional values, those good community vibes. I think people are starting to come back to that. And again, to your note, the Joe Rogans of the world, people like that certainly do put it on, not a pedestal, but on a platform, and they do it in a well-placed way. Travis, I think you do a phenomenal job in educating people and kind of breaching those divides. There's a lot of education. We're opening the doors to people. I think there was a lot in the past where it was made to be a community that was kind of kept to the side.
Yeah.
And now all these other groups are trying to shut us down so much. It's like, okay, well, we need to open ourselves up, raise our voice, because like our way of life is being targeted right now. And if we don't start standing up, we can't get by with just having small numbers anymore. We need large numbers so we have a larger voice. So I think there's a lot of different pieces falling into place and why it's becoming popular. But yeah, I think it ultimately comes down to just once you're in the mountains, the people that are getting pushed to expose themselves to it, once you're out there, you really realize how important it is to have that way of life.
It is a grand leveler, and I haven't seen another activity that's so egalitarian in its nature. You've got like multimillionaires sitting down at the table. Last night we're at the table with 3 young hunting guides. Was it JT? Help me,
Carter and Carson.
Yeah, Carter LaValle and Carson LaValle and Carter. No, I got it backwards. Yeah. They'll correct me on here. They drove 12 hours to be down here. And I think they're sleeping in the trailer, they said, out in the parking lot.
Don't tell anybody because they'll get a ticket. But there is a horse trailer parked out front. The boys, they got off work Thursday night.
Yeah.
And, jumped in the pickup truck, drug their horse trailer out here. They just wanted to be here and experience it. Some boys from Alberta.
Yep.
I've actually hunted with them way up north. They were wranglers on one of my trips. And just salt of the earth guys.
Awesome guys.
Just wanted to be here and be a part of the energy.
Right. Yeah. And they fit in just side by side with the people who are multimillionaires. And it's just everyone's here for the exact same reason. It's for their love of the outdoors and for the love of nature.
That ground that they share. And I think one of the things too is, and I'm sure, you guys all have kids. You got a brand new one. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
My oldest hunter is turning 10. He's actually going to be in your course in March as soon as he turns 10. And all he's talking about is going on his first bear hunt. We shot a few grouse last year and a couple other things. Super excited. But I tell you, as I'm sure you guys are aware, they get sucked into the YouTube, to these iPads, to this, these social networks that we're all a part of. Don't get me wrong. Sure. We all do the YouTube and Instagram and all that jazz. But I think as we become closer via social media, we really become much more separated and individualistic and so on and so forth. And we get these dopamine hits from people liking us and following us that are totally not real, you know what I mean,
Right.
for lack of a better word. And I think there really is very few things in this world that we get to truly experience that is legitimately real. You know, and when you're in the forest, when you're in the bush, when you've got a pack on your back, and just like you guys said, it's the ultimate leveler. It makes no difference what that guy does or has done in the past or making money, doesn't make money. You guys are both suffering. You know what I mean?
That's it.
You both got packs. You're both going up the same mountain. Like it is the ultimate equalizer of individuals. And I think it's very few times that I realize that I'm actually in the moment. I'm not thinking about, you know, what happened yesterday with business or where I'm planning or my goals are or all these other things. You're just like, yeah, just don't fall off this cliff, you know, like do not die. Next step. That's about it. Right. So, yeah, it's almost like a form of meditation to me in some sort of way. It's pretty awesome, pretty profound for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's the best refresh, recharge, disconnect, whatever. I call it like reconnecting by disconnecting. Yeah. Like, because you go out there and you've never felt more at peace. Every time I go in the mountains, it feels like it brings life back into perspective, because you truly do realize like how much of these anxiety-driven behaviors or the stress you have going on a day-to-day basis, how much of that is self-imposed and not real. And once you're out there, it's like, okay, I'm in the mountains. Am I going to be warm enough to survive tonight? Am I going to have enough food? Am I going to have enough water? Yeah. Like, it's literally shelter, food, heat. Like, that's what's going through your mind. And then in those moments, you know, when things are going, like the hunt's tough or whatever it is, you get weathered in your tent for 2-3 days. And it's like, okay, what do you miss the most? Do you miss your family? Like those types of things. So then all of a sudden everything falls into perspective. All that other stuff that you think matters, you're like, does it really matter? And it just, so then you come out of the mountains and it's like, everything in life makes sense. And then you're back out for too long and everything, you know, it all gets muddled together and you start stressing about the wrong stuff. And it's like, my wife will look at me sometimes and be like, you need to leave the house and go in the mountains. And I'm like, okay, she's doing that for me. And so I try and tell myself she's doing that for me. Maybe she just wants me out of the house, but I do know that when I come back, I try and remember and lock that feeling in, because everything seems so clear in the day-to-day as soon as you come out of the mountains. Yeah. But then once you get right back into that rat race and you're back on that spinning wheel, it's tough to keep it in that perspective.
Totally. Do you have a hard time switching gears? Personally, if I'm in the mountains, if I'm out in the bush, I don't want to leave. When I come back into work and I got everything coming in, I find it hard to get back out into the mountains. I want to be out there, but I know I've got all these obligations and I got all this work I got to get done. I have a hard time making a smooth transition between them.
It's one of those funny things, because like I said, when you leave, you do get that opportunity to completely disconnect. But when you disconnect, as adults, we understand we have responsibilities in the real life. So you can't just walk away from it and completely forget that you do have bills to pay. You do have these, not necessarily, they're not false imposed kind of responsibilities. They're real responsibilities as an adult, especially as providing males. Society tells us we have a lot of these responsibilities that we just have to do, right? So when we do step outside and you do go in the mountains, you get to be a kid again. You get to disconnect from all of that, which is a freedom that many people that don't hunt never really truly experience. But there is, on some level, I have this guilt right up until the second my boots hit the dirt and I'm out of the truck or I'm out of service. I have this guilt of, am I putting myself ahead of my responsibilities? Am I supposed to be, I don't want to say a martyr, but like, are you supposed to just carry those burdens and eat it on a day-to-day basis? But over the years, I've seen this knowledge of like, okay, yes, this time away is necessary, because when I come back, I am such a better person that I'm able to do everything else and deal with those burdens and deal with those responsibilities at such a higher level that it's like this necessary give and take. It's like when you're busy with work, you're a fit guy. When you're busy with work, sometimes work's getting so like, okay, I don't have a minute to spare today. I'm not going to go to the gym. Yeah. You don't perform well that day. You've got this fog, this haze, and you don't realize it because you're like, I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm going to get through it. I don't have a minute to spare to get to the gym. But if you take even 20 minutes to half an hour to do a quick workout, get the endorphins flowing, you're going to get twice as much done that day. But you had to sacrifice that window of time. Yeah. And I really do think, sometimes that time in the mountains is like that 20 to 30 minute workout. Sometimes it's only a day. Sometimes it's a 14-day trip if you're really lucky. Yeah. But it will make you perform at such a higher level at everything else because, again, you can prioritize. You can function at a higher rate.
I think part of it for me too is sheep hunting in general. I find it many times is a type 2 kind of fun. So if I'm going on 2 weeks and I'm down 17 pounds in 10 days and I'm just like, there's a lot of times I'm looking at my inReach, I'm like, that button looks good, the come save me button. Yeah. So some of those times, then I'm like, I'm never going to do this again. That's happened in my first sheep hunt. And then on the flight out, I'm already booking the next flight in, right? So I think it's nice to have that disconnect. But just like you said, I think if it puts everything in perspective for me. Like it is crazy to me how many people that live in the Lower Mainland have never been past like Kelowna or God forbid Prince George. And you talk about going up to like, where Muncho Lake or something way up north there. The beauty that we're surrounded with, it just opens your eyes. And most people have never actually laid under the stars and seen the stars without light pollution. Like you don't understand how bright it actually is, what Milky Way actually looks like, right? So I think it puts everything into perspective. Plus, I'm a big believer, just like in training, that if you do difficult things, and sheep hunting without a doubt is an incredibly difficult thing in most cases, everything else in life just becomes a lot easier. I'm like, oh, I got to go to a business meeting. I got to wake up at 5. Darn, like that's a lot easier than 5. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a lot easier than sleeping in a tent, climbing up a mountain with a 90-pound pack, right? That I overpacked like usual. It's a completely different beast for sure.
Overpack as usual. Yeah, that's so easy to do as well when you head out there. Do I want to be comfortable? Do I want to be lightweight? I mean, modern gear is getting better.
Yeah.
And you can get some lightweight stuff, but overpacking is one of I end up finding stashes. I don't know if you guys do that.
Yeah.
I end up going out there and realizing, damn, I overpacked, and I find a place to stash my kit. And
I'm guilty for the same. Yeah. Every time I come out of the bush, I try and go through. So I have a checklist. I have a online Excel sheet, and I weigh every item when I buy it. I weigh it so I know exactly what each individual piece weighs. So I have a checklist so I can check everything, and it kind of totals my weight at the bottom, tells you what I'm expected. I'm like, great, I got my backpack exactly where I want it. And then all of a sudden, as it's like 48 hours before I leave, maybe I need this. Oh, you know what? I checked the weather again. I might need that. And then the bag gets heavier and heavier. And then every time I come out of the mountains, I look at my list and I go, what didn't I use?
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I didn't need to bring that. But it's inevitable. There's always times I bring stuff I needed, or I didn't need, Mm-hmm. But then there's a few things that I pulled after the last hunt because I didn't use it. And I'm up there, I'm like, I would give my left arm if I had that with me.
That's where the stash technique comes in, because you're like, I overpacked, but if I need to, I can hike back down, I can grab this kit.
That's a smart plan. I need to do that more.
Yeah, just don't forget yourself up there. I've done that one before too.
Yeah, I'm the worst. I literally, I'm like, oh, I need 3 knives because this one does this one does that. And I'm just like, oh yeah. And then my back every single time. I'm picking up my buddy's pack versus my pack. I'm like, what's going on here? Makes no sense. But
yeah, and when you're 6 foot, what are you, 8?
6. I've done some heavy, maybe like 6, 7.5 now.
Because you've been,
I've shrunk a bit. I'm sure over the years.
Yeah.
Everything you own weighs more. Your boots weigh more. Your pants weigh more. Your jacket weighs more.
Yep.
Food is the biggest struggle for me. Is I've found that I'm constantly going, okay, am I going to have enough calories for the day? I want to be right at that bonk level where at the end of the day I'm kind of just fading, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you want to sneak in a bit more calories, but as soon as you have more calories, your pack's heavier and you're going to be burning more calories. But my favorite thing though is when you're on the mountain every day, I'm like, each day my backpack, I'm like, hey, got 1.6 pounds lighter today. This is great. That mountain's going to feel a little bit easier tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to food, something that you have to have in your pack?
Well,
maybe a little luxury food?
One luxury food, they're actually here at the show. Bruce, I got him to come. It's a BC company, Enercheese.
The cheese.
Yeah, that cheese over there. So it's great. It's just like freeze-dried cheese, which is good. But the trick that I realized last year, so I love a good fatty dinner at night, is I take a few of those freeze-dried chunks of cheese and I throw them in my peak dinner, and it'll actually kind of like get gooey again.
Yeah.
That is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just going to rehydrate basically, right?
So I thought it was just going to kind of powder and give it that cheese flavor, but it actually does turn into that gooey cheese again. So we're all drooling now. We might have to we're going to take a break. We're going to be right back.
I do like those cheesies. For me, it was always the one I'd bring out. Hawkins cheesies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're lightweight. I put them in little plastic bags. I divvy it up every single day. I have to be disciplined. I do not crave sweets. I do crave salt when I'm out in the mountains. Yeah.
I used to bring like sweets, like especially like where they give you for Halloween or something like that, the kid stuff. But then your gut just gets nasty after a while from that stuff. So now it's mainly I'm just using Peak 99% of the time. But what I threw in last year's hunt, or this year's hunt, I should say, last year's hunt technically, I guess, was protein powder. I've never done that before. And so there's kind of like a meal replacement, so a little bit higher calorie protein powder, because we always take protein bars, because for breakfast, we never really have breakfast. It's just coffee and, Cliff Bar or whatever, and kind of get going. But this protein powder was pretty good. And the overall size it doesn't take up too much size, not too much weight. You're getting calories, and it's a lot of protein, longer lasting. So I think I'll probably try that again next year. Maybe I won't bring as much as I did last time, but works pretty good.
Speaking of powders, one thing I've done to kind of extend the amount of calories I have in my meals is, for my dinners, I open them up and I normally do 1.5 dinners per pouch, and then I reseal it. But then the other thing I do is I'll add in some scoops of MCT powder. Because it's just that quick fat into the system.
Yes.
And it's super lightweight. So I'll do that. Sometimes some scoops of bone broth or something like that. Throw that in there.
Does the MCT mess with your stomach at all?
I've never had issues with it. I don't do
big amounts. Yeah.
Too aggressive. I just sneak a little bit extra in there. I do that. And then in my oatmeals, I'll open them up and I'll put a bit of MCT powder and some powdered peanut butter. So I thought powdered peanut butter when I first got it, I was like, oh, it's great because it's going to be so high in calories. Like peanut butter.
And?
It's high in protein, but the thing is, a lot of the fat, I guess, in peanut butter comes from the oils that they use to keep it that way. So when you dehydrate it, you lose a lot of those oils. So that's originally why I happened on MCT powder, is because I used to bring individual packs of peanut butter and I'd rip it open and dump it into all my meals. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to use the powder. It's going to be the same as the peanut butter. And it wasn't. So I was like, well, how do I get that fat back in? Then I found the MCT powder. And then I was like, well, I don't just need to use this in my breakfast. I'll use the powder in my dinners and everything. And it kind of works out well.
It works for more things, because peanut butter, you're not going to throw in like a spaghetti or something like that anyways, where you can throw in MCT, no problem. Right?
Exactly.
So,
and
that makes
just
sense.
sneaking some of those calories in, it just boosts you a little bit.
Okay, so quick question, because we bumped into you were with me, I think, at my booth. Rod Galtaka?
Yeah,
Galtaka?
that's right.
Yeah. With the CCFR, super nice guy, huge into what they're doing. What's your guys' thoughts with, to get a little bit more political, because that's kind of the stuff we've been talking. Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun. He's going to edit this part out. What's your guys' thoughts with what's happening? Obviously, there's rumors of elections coming. How do you guys think that's going to affect, obviously, gun ownership and, more important, us as hunters? What are your guys' thoughts, and this is kind of a two-pronged question, on Grizzlies coming back? Okay. I've heard it's a possibility. I don't know what's happened, but I've been told by some COs that it might be in the works somehow.
I mean, from my experience in the field lately, I would say the conflict we're having with grizzly bears has increased drastically. I mean, it's increased drastically over the past maybe 8 to 10 years, but I would say it's been sped up at such an extreme rate over the last few years since the hunt's been shut down, where something has to change. And if they are smart in office, they will go, okay, well, these bears are becoming an issue. How can we generate revenue from this that can give back to the monitoring of these species? Give back, because, I mean, the hunts previously brought a lot of money to the table, not just for the bears, but for other species as well, right? So shutting that down was we got an announcement. Should we pause for a second? Keep flowing. But shutting that down was a very, very nearsighted, short-sighted. I mean, if they had to do anything, maybe they should have shrunk the numbers a bit. But something's going to happen here pretty soon, whether it's the government stepping in and doing it silently and spending taxpayers' dollars to reduce the numbers essentially, or opening things back up in a way that can generate that revenue and create some positivity that comes from it. And I mean, if you look at it in that way, I mean, yes, we are biased, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you just look at that and you take emotion out of it, it is hard to argue against that type of approach, which is, I think, what we all struggle with is, yes, we're biased, so we want to bring it back. But the other side is just so passionate against it that it's like when you're in an argument with someone, they're like, I don't care if I make sense or not. I just need to show that I'm right.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but are you even listening to the words coming out of your mouth?
Well, it's hard to fight emotion with logic.
Yes.
You can't do it. I mean, you could be as logical as you want, and you're having that argument with a person who's highly emotional. You're going to have to let them have their emotional bit, but we don't have to give that emotion the power behind it. We don't have to start eliminating or making policy changes or legislative changes based on something that's purely emotional. And I get it. I remember years ago, Corporation of Delta, before it became the City of Delta, they had a meeting there. They said, look, we're thinking about doing what Surrey did, and we're not going to get rid of the gun stores and the firearms businesses, but we're going to put a moratorium. The existing ones can stay, but anyone new, they can't come in. And man, I had all my logic. I had all my stats. I had all my stuff. And I'm up there at City Hall going through my stuff. And I think, what was his name? Barry Conkin, I think was his name. He says, hold on, Travis. Like, I see you have a bunch of pages. Like, how much more of this do you have? I said, well, I don't know. I start going through it. And he says, I'm going to stop you right there. I agree with you 100%. Everything you say makes sense. So, okay. So why are you contemplating this change then, right? He says, it's got nothing to do with what makes sense. It's got nothing to do with what I agree with. It's got to do with what we think the constituents want. And if we have a vocal constituency who says this is what we want, then we're going to have to entertain it. So they didn't end up enacting the moratorium like they're going to, but they at least went through the motions of seriously considering it. So I think when it comes to the bear one, I as well have heard that they will be bringing bear hunting back in. I have had negative grizzly bear encounters. We have a generation of grizzly bears now who have grown up to not be afraid of humans, not have a respect for humans. I tried to scare one off that was getting way, way, way too close. And I fired a round beside it thinking that big boom, that concussive force, that'll get it going off. It didn't even flinch. It didn't associate that with danger or me with danger.
No, I think sometimes, in my experience, that boom now for them is more associated with the dinner bell.
That's right.
Because they hear that and they go, okay, maybe there's going to be a gut pile. There's something for me to go find. I'm going to go look closer into that. So we've had issues. Yeah, we were coming out from an elk hunt, and I'm quite confident that the gunshot itself is what pulled that bear in on us.
Well, it's crazy. I've been hunting since I was 10 years old, and up until maybe 5 years ago, and I'm 40 now, up until 5 years ago, I never really even saw grizzly in wild. Like maybe one in the distance, and we were hunting up north with my dad and so on and so forth. Now, there isn't a trip where I don't see one, even in places like Cache Creek and 100 Mile and so on and so forth that aren't renowned for grizzly bears. They're out there everywhere, just like the wolves. And we now, obviously, we have a call in a lot of different places on the wolves. There's still a ton of them. But last year on my sheep hunt, or this year, sorry, on my sheep hunt, we saw 3 of them. One went through our camp. The other one was chasing us down while we were leaving. Like, it was insane. And when on our way out, we took Jason brought us up there on the jet boat, and on our way out, I was actually with Chuck, was on the same boat with me from Spike Camp, and we're chatting, and apparently, and don't quote this number, but it's something ridiculous like this, that in the last decade that they had the open grizzly hunt, right? It's something like 90% of all of these grizzlies that were shot weren't on a purpose hunt. They weren't out there hunting grizzlies. They were in an elk hunt, they were in a sheep hunt, they were in a moose hunt, and they all had tags. They're all legally taken, but these were problem bears coming into camps. They were taking the meat. They were, being aggressive, putting humans at risk, and it was a massive majority of all bears shot were problem bears, right? And now, who's got to take care of it? You talk to the guys, the COs that are working up in Dawson and so on and so forth, like 95% of their calls are taking care of some kind of bear that's a nuisance bear that a hunter could have taken care of when, they were protecting their meat and whatever it is. So it's not even you're now allowing these problem bears, like you said, it's a generation of problem bears, or issues with them. So it's interesting to say. So what about the gun stuff?
The gun stuff. Well, before we do the gun stuff,
Okay,
because I know my ADHD will kick in, and I wanted to ask the question because we talked about gut piles.
Yeah.
Bears looking for a gut pile.
Yeah.
The ravens flying overhead, oftentimes indicator, all the birds coming around, that you've got a gut pile. I got a theory, and I'm going to throw it by you two. I have a theory that the bears will look at these ravens and they'll say, oh, probably a gut pile down below. And I've been playing that theory a little bit. These birds are really smart. What if these birds are like, I want a gut pile? Because sometimes it feels like they're indicating to me when I'm out there of where an animal could be. Because I've been starting to pay attention to the ravens and finding success in my hunt. Have you guys done that?
There's folklore. I don't know if you want to call it folklore or like it's an old mountain man myth. And I know it's something that was present. Some First Nations, that's part of it as well. But there is respect with the birds of prey like ravens. And they do say that there's been a lot of stories and a lot of tales of that being a part of it. There's definitely an understanding about certain people. It's also like, I mean, I don't know if it's on the same vein, but like if you're going in the mountains and you see an owl or something, it's supposed to be great luck. But yeah, I've heard a lot of stories of individuals that go out in the mountains and they look for the ravens and crows and go, okay, I'm going to see where they take me today.
Yeah, I don't know if correlation is causation. I don't have enough data to be able to make that, but I've been playing with it a bit, and I figured I'll throw it out to see, and maybe the listeners have done this and they have some feedback.
I could definitely see that. I mean, it's miraculous how quick they end up on the gut pile. Like you're still skinning an animal or you're gutting it, and they're there 3 minutes later. So yeah, I could see that.
So you want to talk about the gun thing now, hey?
Yeah. The only reason is I'll give some background on it. So I'm an avid gun guy as well. I even had a firearm channel, The Modern Caveman, on YouTube a long time ago when I still had guns to review. So
The good old days.
The good old days. And so there's one disconnect and that's the only thing. And I think people are starting to, because, and I'll just throw this out there, the extreme of Trudeau on how crazy everything has gone with that, I think has almost brought a lot of like the gun culture and hunting culture closer together, right? So, excuse me, if I look back in the past, I even remember as a kid, like being looked down on that we were hunting with a gun because the guy was a bow hunter, so he's more of a superior hunter. There's always been these types of like rifts in our community, and I think now it's starting to get a lot better because of the extremes of Trudeau. But the one thing, and Rod and I were talking about it as well, is I own multiple restricted firearms that are going to be taken away. I think I got like nine or 10 guns that are now prohibited in my gun safe, right? And for me, I'd really like to see, and I love the fact that the Wild Sheep Society is doing this, having he's speaking tonight, I think he was saying, right? And having them a part of them and so on and so forth. Just combining it a little bit more with sport shooters, guys that were doing 3-gun, because I think it's important that we all are very solidified beside the fact, because I think there's still some, and genuinely I feel even the last year or two it's been a big change, but I think there's still some hunters out there that don't believe that their guns are literally on the chopping blocks right now, that believe that they'll never get rid of bolt actions, they'll never get rid of this, they'll never get rid of that. I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a fight of a death by 1,000 cuts, right? And it's the same thing that's been happening with our hunting rights. A lot of people when the grizzly bear hunt was banned, a lot of hunters just went, well, I don't hunt grizz, so I don't care, right? But that was like the grizzly bear was the big barrier in front of all the other species. So as soon as the grizzly bear went, then there was the fight we had for the cats and the fight we're having for other predators. And so it's not like these groups or the opposition is going to go, okay, we won the battle. That was the only battle we want. We walk away, right? For them, they have a long plan and they're a unified group. So talking about, how fragmented we are and everybody's in their own pocket and they're like, oh, that's their fight. It doesn't touch me. Yeah. I completely agree. As a society, we all need to understand, like, this isn't going to stop after one of these things topple. And some of the groups open state, well, this is the only thing we're only coming for the cat hunts. If the cat hunts stop, we're going to go away. Yeah. Well, yes, that official organization might go away, but you don't think 90% of those members are going to come back under a different umbrella, under a different name, with a different group? Like, that's what's going to continually happen, and that's what we see. That's what we saw after the grizzly bear hunt. What really happens is every time they get a win, it's like a sports team. You gain that momentum, and you become that much fiercer of a group, and then everybody rallies behind it because it's like, oh, wait, they actually were able to get a victory. Well, now I really believe in it. We're going to have this change. We're going to do this. And the challenge that we really face is, on our side, we're really held under a microscope and we have to speak truths. We can't step out of line and falsify information. The other side, 90% of what they put on these banners, billboards, some of these people, what they're teaching in school is completely false right now.
Yep.
So I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but I would say, you know, all of these different groups and all these different pockets in the shooting sports, everybody needs to come together. Because like Rod said earlier this morning at the Life member breakfast, you know, a lot of the guns that have been put on the chopping block already are guns that he never in a million years would have thought would have come. And they're gone, and they're in the rearview mirror now. And it's not like they're going to stop and go, okay, we got this, we're happy. I mean, you can just look at the list they're putting forward, and they're literally just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, there's no logic behind it, and that shows you alone that they don't have an end in sight. They're just going, let's grab as many as we can now, and then we'll let them calm down a little bit, and then they'll go, okay, everything's fine, and then we'll come back and we'll grab a few more, and we'll grab a few more. And it's the same thing they're going to do with the hunting licenses. They're going to go, okay, no, they stood up and fought for the cats. Okay, we won't go after cats. What else can we go after? What else can we sneak away while everybody's looking over here? What else can we pull out the back door? And that's what they're going to keep doing. They're circling, and they're just going to pull away. And pretty soon we're going to be sitting there, and you're on the last hill. And people are going to go, how did we get here? And it's because everybody didn't come together. Everybody didn't get each other's backs, right? Like, that's what needs to happen. So to your point, like, I agree. We need to get everybody together and one unified front. The messaging needs to be consistent across the board. That's essential if we're going to, the way things are going. I mean, yes, maybe obviously some changes in office
hopefully soon
could impact that. But I mean, yes, it could make things a lot better, but is that going to stop some of these organizations? They're always going to find a way to come after us. So we do, as a community, need to come together, bring more into the fold, increase our numbers, larger numbers, stronger voice, and then everybody's forced to listen to the larger numbers. Because everybody just listens to the loudest voice in the room half the time, unfortunately.
I agree with that. And I agree that people should realize the death by 1,000 cuts, like you say there. Because if you look at, go back a few years, Paul Martin, he's like, I'm not going to touch your guns. I'm not going to do anything with your guns. The second he gets in, all right, let's ban all the handguns. And he got so much pushback on that, and it fell flat on its face. Trudeau comes in and says, death by 1,000 cuts, camel in the tent. Please, sir, it's so cold outside. Can I just put my hoof inside your tent? And before you know, you're sleeping outside and your camel's on the inside. And that's how this goes. I'm not 100% sure that trying to organize the hunting community and the firearms community is the best option. Like, if the entire firearms community, the entire hunting community got up and they started saying, here's what's going on, and they're fighting with logic, again, we find ourselves in that situation where you're trying to fight emotion with logic. I think the argument's already been framed in a way where you're fighting a losing battle. I think the argument needs to be reframed a little bit differently, such as, if they can come for this from you, why couldn't they come for that for you? And I see Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses doing that, the CFIB, and they're looking at property rights as opposed to, if they take your handguns or your shotguns or your rifles, they're saying, well, if they can arbitrarily come in and say you can't have this through order in council, through no legislative voting, no due process, what's to stop them from doing something similar when it comes to your bank account, when it comes to your business, when it comes to your house? And I think the voice, the numbers that you need come from more that visceral emotion where all the people are like, in the gun community, I don't own handguns, it doesn't bother me. Or the non-hunters and the non-firearms people, that's you guys, how does that affect me? Well, the amount of money it costs on these, and I'm going to do air quotes here for people listening, the buyback, which is, it's just confiscation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Blaine said last night, how do you buy back something that you've never owned, right? I think that it needs to be a strategic reframing of what's going on and putting a spotlight on the general malfeasance of government and how they're moving forward to take rights, to take property, or to take the steps that they're doing. I think that would be...
I think that would work. I think it's got to be a two-pronged approach. I think both sides. The reality is if we have inner fighting or we're not working together as a hunting, shooting community, we're all on the same side and where we're going. I think that hurts us one particular way because you know how it is. If you look at any type of, look at how wars are run. The first thing you're trying to do is separate the good from the bad within people. You're trying to, I'm everybody hates to use COVID, but you said as an example, during COVID, it doesn't matter if you believe in it, don't believe in it, think it kills people, don't think it kills people, the vaccine, whatever it is, how the government villainized people, in my personal opinion, was completely wrong. Right. And you see families that have completely stopped talking to each other, that have disowned each other, that because one's like an anti-vaxxer, one's a vaxxer. I won't even use anti-vaxxer, just didn't believe in that particular one, or whatever the case is. So it's a very, very powerful tool to split communities with certain beliefs, right? So I feel like if our community comes together and we realize that we're all fighting the same fight, B, if we realize the fact that, and Joe hit it on the nail, you look at all these they're not conservation groups, all these groups that are trying to say get rid of the bear hunt or get rid of, at the end of the day, you look at their motivation at the end, it is to eliminate all hunting. You look at any of these people that are trying to get rid of any kind of guns or the ARs to start with or whatever it may be, their motivation in the very end is to eliminate all firearms. This is all just a starting point. We all really have to realize that. And if we don't fight back now, and that is really what you're doing, if we don't come together as a force, I think we won't have anything left to fight for, because everything, and Joe, you said this as well, is these death by 1,000 cuts, really what it is just creating normalization. I've already heard people, well, I've given up, I'm not going to get my arrow back. Or I've given up, it's gone. Well, the reality is if you give that up, right, and you have that mentality that it's given up, you will never get it back, because now you're just focused on fighting what you're going to still be able to keep now, instead of moving back into the retrospective where we were, right? So I think it's a challenging time. Luckily, I think we're in the right direction in a lot of cases. Excuse me. But I think a third prong attempt too, and I think this is you guys are doing an incredibly great job about this, and the Joe Rogans of the world and so on and so forth, is I think bringing other people into the scope of the outdoors, right? Getting them to people that camp, people that I think a massive thing that we really need to focus on is bringing more women into our activities, our sports, our shooting, our hunting, our getting them involved, understanding how much of a family practice this is, getting kids involved, bringing people that are outside of our community to go fire a gun and realize that, hey, the gun didn't jump off the table and start killing people, you know what I mean? And we just had some psychos once in a blue moon that did things, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of bring that awareness, and having, for lack of a better word, these celebrities, or having people that are out there voicing their opinions loud and clear and speaking well and showing by action, leading by example. I think these are ways that we can definitely change the tide. And you're seeing it in the States, you're seeing it here in a lot of cases in Alberta and so on and so forth. I think we need to keep pressing. My worry is we do bring another government in, that'll be a good government, and all of a sudden we lay off the gas and we're like, oh, we're good now, and then we set ourselves up for another Trudeau in whenever years.
Yeah, I don't think the fights are going to go anywhere regardless of what happens, and we have to keep our guard up. But I definitely, I think you guys both made phenomenal points there. Travis, to your point, using the exact template or structure and reframing it and applying it to something else, and then using that as a really good tool of how we could pull more into the fold and educate. Because I think when it comes to situations like the ones we're talking about, it's a very polarizing argument. But the big thing is the majority of society, yes, maybe 10, 15, 20% sit at either end.
Yeah.
And they're going, okay, what do we do with this 60 to 80% of the population that's in the middle? Mm-hmm. How do we reach them? And for us, sometimes we just speak our side and hope that people will understand it. But a lot of those people in the middle who don't hunt, who don't have guns, who don't see it, they're like, well, I live in, a city center. I don't see these things. Why would you need to hunt? Why would you need to? Because we talked about earlier, vast majority of people have never gone north past to these really wild places. They don't see grizzly bears on a daily basis. They don't see wolves. They don't see what's actually happening on the landscape. So finding a way to reach them and showing them that we're not these villains like certain groups are really trying to make us out to be. So saying, well, this is why we're actually frustrated. So, educating somebody with a piece, and, could you imagine you're watching a video and it talks about, what would you do if one day you woke up and someone told you something about a vehicle or your property or your right for some sort of other freedom, or and then this was all done with no education, there's no logic behind the decisions, and you structured it that way, people's hair on their back would stand up and they go, how could something like that happen? And you go, well, that is what's been happening here. And then bring them in. All of a sudden people might start paying attention. So, and then bring them in, and then bring them as a part of this unified society of everybody else, and then that voice grows. So I think both pieces of that can come together. And yeah, because right now it's one of those challenging things is I feel like the hunting society, the shooting society has always rested on historically of, the actions speak louder than words, but like the silent type, this is the way it's been, this is the way it should always be, because we talk about the heritage, we talk about this is what's always been happening, but that I don't think that dialogue, that story is serving us as well as it used to, and it's changing. So I think finding ways to change our story, to change how we bring other people into the fold is very important.
I think you're bang on. I don't think setting yourself up to fight somebody's emotional accusations is putting yourself in the best possible position. And there are other things that are going on in society right now that people can piggyback on if they're trying to have another side understand sort of their position. They can piggyback on the local food movement, right? And they understand food. They might not understand hunting, but they understand food and where that food comes from. Maybe there's a segue in. How about the indigenous people out there, as hunting and fishing as a part of a way of life? You're going to tell them that they shouldn't be able to hunt anymore? And if you wouldn't say that, why would you say that to another group? Like, are you racist, right? Yeah. The same sort of logic could be used back and forth, but I think really, and you're right, there's always going to be the few percent that are one side, few percent the other side, and most of the people in the middle, they just don't care. They're not even, it's not even on their radar. But even if you take those ardent opposition on either side, you'll probably find that you have more similarities than you do have differences. That you don't like guns because you've been negatively affected by it, or you've read about things in the news where people have been negatively affected, so you want to get rid of them all. Well, guess what? The gun people over here, they don't like this stuff they're seeing in the news, and they don't want to be negatively affected. But if we get rid of it all, does that mean that we're going to stop all gun violence? Well, no. What's the end objective? We want to have a safe society. If we get rid of all hunting, what's that going to mean? Well, we're no longer going to have conservation groups that actually look after and manage these animals. And we have things for generations to come. Do you want animals for generations to come? Yes. Well, maybe we should reframe how we're looking at that. And I think if we start looking at those similarities that we have and picking away at those, we might have a different conversation. Because the second we're on these polar sides, I don't think either side really gets anywhere.
Let me ask you guys a question then on this portion, because I agree with everything you guys are saying.
You would.
Definitely. We're on the same side. My question to you, I guess, is, as you mentioned, like the 10% on each side, these extremists on both sides, right? I think over the last, and I think this is one of the reasons why we're actually starting to see a shift politically and all these other things, is because the 10%, I'll just call it out as the left, let's just say the extreme left, has been so loud and has been basically shaming everybody else, outside the rest of the 90%, that they've been shaming their way into getting things done. How do we, all of these things we talk about, bringing people into the community, showing them, for example, like, hey, you may have nothing to do with guns, but that car, why do you have to have a 1,000 horsepower car? You could kill a bunch of people and you're taking way too much fuel and so on and so forth. Like, we're going to confiscate that because nobody needs that. Just like nobody needs a semi-automatic weapon, for example. And we're using these types of things. How do we get our voice out there like the 1% of the extreme left have over the years?
I don't think you do.
No?
No, I think obviously we need groups. We need people who will have that voice and who carry it out. My personal opinion is that you start educating people on how media can manipulate, how people can manipulate facts or outright lie, and things that we can look for.
Sorry to interrupt you. But how do you educate them? How do you get that out there? What do you think? And to a better question, because there's three of us that are on social media quite a bit, and we do our things. But I'm not really the hunting community per se. And I love you guys. I love watching, but I'm more of a fanboy than anything. So, but you guys, this is your living. Like, you guys literally work and breathe in the hunting industry, outdoor industry. How does the regular average person that's here, right? Or maybe that's not who we're saying, but the person that's in there, how do they get out and communicate and say these things and educate? And like, what if somebody's listening to this today, what should they do? Or we're obviously not telling them what to do, but at the end of the day, what can they do to make a difference?
I think educating ourselves personally about how arguments are formed, on how media can be manipulated, and being able to call out blatant lies when we see it and point to why that is. I mean, Noam Chomsky's written a number of books on just the power of media manipulation. I think he's actually got a masterclass right now through that whole masterclass thing.
Nice.
But I think if people are able to start spotting out, well, hold on a second, that argument doesn't hold water. Like, if you have a point, let's make your point, as opposed to trying to argue the point. Because the second you find yourself arguing the point, and you're already in a position, let's say it's an emotional point, you're fighting against the flow of water.
Yeah.
So if you can at least, through your own discourse, start understanding how a different perspective of the argument, like, hold on a second, let's talk, what is it you're trying to actually get at? Or why would you say that when, rather than pointing to facts, use their same argument? In the same way that, like, when COVID happened, like you point out there, people would talk in hushed tones. They wouldn't want it, like, it was really weird. I would have podcasts if people be off air, like, I wanted to say this, but I couldn't because I'd be canceled. And you talk about, and you say the left, the extreme left, but there has been a very effective manipulation through media and through social media, through cancel culture in the past. And I think the zeitgeist now is, there is a flavor for that to stop. People are not going to be bullied through DEI and saying, well, you don't agree with this diversity, equity, inclusion thing, so you must be a racist, you must be a Nazi, right? I think that's where I don't think we lose messaging on what we think is factually correct, but I think we have to be more adept at being able to reframe an argument or point out in a way that will humiliate in the same way that you would be humiliated, right? Just point out the ludicrousy of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything I would add on top of what you just said. I think you've really touched on everything well there. Yeah, and I think the other thing is just, I mean, especially on social media, everybody's first reaction is to attack and emotionally attack and you know, take a breath and understand sometimes, like, people are on there, they're baiting you and they want you to step in. And sometimes the first reaction, the first thing you want to type in there and say is almost going to prove their point. And then, you know, invalidate anything you're going to say after that. Yeah. So taking that step and going, I always use a term, you know, I used to play professional sports. Yeah.
Did you?
Really?
Once upon a time, I was really good at badminton.
I was going to say soccer.
I thought it was pickleball.
And I always say there's a difference between locker room talk and the press conference talk. Yeah. And understand that these social platforms, a lot of people go, well, it's a social platform, I want to be able to say whatever I'm supposed to say. Well, no, it's a social platform, yes, but everything that we're putting on these social platforms is going to be used against us. Like, it's like when someone's getting arrested, you know, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. It's the same thing. So you can have your conversations about certain things and speak in a certain tone amongst the boys, amongst your hunt group, whatever it is. But when you're going on social media, understand, a lot of the time I try and don't get me wrong, I don't get it perfect all the time. I make a lot of mistakes, but understand that you're not always, when I speak or respond to somebody, I'm not even thinking, how is this person going to react to it? I go, everybody that reads this, whose side are they going to take? And if you get involved too emotionally and too aggressive, and you're just, you know, start name calling, things like that, everybody's going to go, wow, this guy is this redneck idiot, right? Like, that's what they're going to think. Wow, this person really, you know, caught him. Yeah. Whereas, you know, every now and then you see the response. Some responses, you know, you're just not going to win. And I'll be honest, I block a lot of people. I'm like, you're gone. Like, I don't have time for you because this isn't, nothing positive is going to come from this. But if someone's open to dialogue, I'll communicate with them, even if I know I'm not going to convince them. But well, maybe some other people that they know are going to check this out. And then they're going to go, wow, this guy actually made a good point.
They're going to see how you comport yourself.
Right? Yeah. So that sometimes is a way to win. but yeah, you're not going to win all those arguments. You're not going to win them. And oddly enough, sometimes I have had one of the most frustrating things I have come up actually is at the end of some of these dialogues, people go, okay, but I'm not talking about you. You're one of the good ones. And we'll bring this full circle moment here is like, we've all been here at this venue all weekend, and you walk around, every person in this building is one of the good ones, because the best people you will ever meet, you meet through the outdoors, right? Because it just brings the best out in so many people.
Yeah.
So I hate that when people go, yeah, but I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the rest of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, but the rest of them are just like me.
Yeah.
You know, maybe some people don't approach it with the same angle, but like when you dig down, you sit down and talk with anybody here this weekend, everybody's the same inside, right? So it's, yeah, I hate that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if everybody can kind of do that and everybody can show them that we're all one of the good ones, we'll start winning some of that argument.
I like that.
I love it. Okay, last question, because we're already stretching time here.
Hold on, I got 1 point I want to make.
Okay, sorry.
Throw the question
Okay,
out.
all right, perfect.
I like what Joe's saying about writing it down if someone would read it at a later date. I always try and write things down in a way, if a trier of fact in the future had to look at this and weigh it out simply on what they see here, what would their opinion be? Yeah. And I find oftentimes when I'm engaging in something, whether it's social media or wherever, there's an initial emotional response. They're wrong, I'm right, I know I'm right, I know they're wrong. However, there's a lot of power to asking questions, because there has been once or twice maybe where I was mistaken and I misunderstood what was going on, and a lot of powerful statements can be made through asking a question, and it leaves you with some leeway to be able to retreat and understand. And I think that's what people should be seeking to do. It is to understand each other prior to seeking to prove your point. Because if I can understand you, and hopefully we can then reach a point where you can understand me, we probably find pretty similar where we're at.
Some kind of common ground. It's funny that you say that in sales.
Yeah.
That's because I can be a complete hothead, and I've said a lot of stupid stuff on social media. Way too much. Just be real. And I have a lot of followers. I've lost a lot of followers. I've lost clients, everything. And it's because, like, and I think this is something that I've learned over time, is I get very emotional over this as well, because I feel deep down it's right. I feel like somebody's stealing something from me, you know? So there's a lot of things, especially somebody stealing something from me, that would be crying that I'm stealing something from them that wouldn't even be significance type deal, right? So, but I hear everything you guys are saying, and I'm like, well, hey, why don't I just apply what I do in sales, which is,
that's a good point.
Basically, just questions. You know, I'm always trying to find somebody's motivation on, you know, why are they building this tower? What's the dream? Where they're going, etc. And it's the same thing when you can ask somebody that has a differentiating opinion to you on what makes you feel that way. What brought you to this decision? You start asking these questions, and a lot of times they can't even answer themselves, right? So it brings it to the forefront that it is more or less just a bias, not an actual reason why. And then you can start having a conversation, right? So it's funny that you mentioned this. Over the last couple of years, I've learned to bite my tongue a bit. And Joe, you hit around the phone and it's like, okay, no, not supposed to say that. Definitely get a ban for that one. And then, just think it through, and then just start with the question process is huge. Okay, on a lighter tone, last question. Okay, what's your favorite animal to hunt, and why?
Are we starting a new podcast? That is a big one. You know what? The one I always go back to personally, blacktail deer, and for me, it's just that nostalgic hunt. It's what I grew up doing. I grew up hunting blacktail with my father. That's what originally, grouse and blacktail is what I fell in love with as a child. So there's that nostalgic side to it, and it's that one hunt that still makes me feel like that kid again, where I make the dumbest decisions, and afterwards I look back and I go, why the heck did I do that? Because it still gets me so fluttered. Whereas some of the other hunts, don't get me wrong, I make mistakes on every hunt. That happens. But with blacktail, it always brings me right back into that childhood memory, and just because, let's be honest, blacktail hunting, if you're doing it right, a lot of the time it's the nastiest, rainiest, most miserable day, and half the time I'm out there, I'm like, why do I love this so much? I hate that I love it so much, but that's what it is. It's that nostalgic hunt for me. That's
the one you shot this year was gorgeous.
That, and talking about that type 2 verging on the side of type 3 kind of hunt, the whole part leading up to, because I injured that deer, and then it was over a 24-hour recovery process and tracking it down and finishing the job.
It was raining or something too, right? If I remember right, it looked wet. Hard to
Snowing.
track.
It was snowing at the point of the first shot. Wounded the animal. I thought it was a miss. Wounded the animal. Found blood. The rain turned to snow. I had 2 hours before dark. Tracked it as far as I could that night. Didn't recover it. In my mind, thought it wasn't a fatal injury. But there's a whole bunch to that. Again, talk about the nostalgic part of it. It was my father's birthday. Oh, wow. And the hunt hadn't been going well, or would have been my father's birthday. And I saw that buck, and when I found out when it was a miss, I went, you know what, Dad, I let you down. But then when I found out I injured it, it was just like this weight of really letting him down, just made it that much heavier. So then 24 hours later or whatever it was, having it all come together, that's a hunt that's going to be tough to top for me. And that was a beautiful buck though. And then the way it finished with the tumble over the 100-foot cliff into the river bottom.
Yeah, that's what it was going to creek in a river or something.
Yeah, it was a mess. Yeah. There's a lot to that one. But again, that would have to be the start of a new podcast if I done that one.
Next one.
Sounds good.
Next
podcast.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, boss.
Moose, spring bear. I love spring bear, but it's nothing about moose. It's giant animals that are out, just ghosts in the forest, and being able to call them in, working in their habitat. It's always been a special hunt for me. And then I don't know, spring bear. There's something about the spring bear being out in the warmer weather and out family. I enjoy those as well. You?
Awesome. So I would say, I don't know, there's a couple times, I don't know, this is my question, I'm not even answering it well, but I love sheep hunting because it's an adventure. And, last year I did a couple ultra marathons, a 100-kilometer one and all this other stuff. And I just like pushing myself and you just feel this accomplishment afterwards. And it's just, I feel like I'm in different places I've never seen before. So I would say for the overall challenge, it would be a sheep hunt or a goat hunt. But it's not something I could do more than once a year. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys, these young guys I'm talking to, I'm going 3 sheep hunts next year. I'm nuts. But really, I think last year, my favorite hunt to date, and I have some really great ones with my dad too, but I think it's bringing Hunter, my oldest, out and him shooting his first couple grouse with a pellet gun and a 410. It's crazy. Like when I used to compete, as you guys know, in MMA and jiu-jitsu and so on and so forth. And it was always awesome, fighting in front of thousands of people. It was really cool, but nothing replaces like watching some of my students that were 15 years old win the Pan Ams and stuff. Like you just get this, I don't know, you feel like you're doing the right thing. When you're out there hunting, it's sometimes, like especially on a sheep hunt where you're gone for a couple of weeks, it can be a selfish moment. You feel like that, kind of like what you're talking about, Joe. Like you're leaving your family, you're leaving all these other things. I mean, even though it's a must and it's something that's really good for you, and I think you bring it back to your family tenfold and your friends and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think like watching it pass down in the generation, I think it's huge for me for sure.
No, there's something special in the passing of the torch and passing that tradition on and everything like that. I mean, we go back to our hunting heritage conversation, but yeah, I mean, you're at a much different stage. My boys are going to be a few years before they can run around, especially on their own. Walker's 3, Wyatt's a month old. But Walker already has a huge passion for the outdoors. He loves getting out there, and I'm going to continually push him. And I think it's something special too. It's every, father or parent's dream is that their children will want to go into it. And for me, it's not so much that I want him to be a driven, motivated hunter. I just want him to learn all the lessons and the values that I learned through my experiences out there. It teaches you so much about perseverance, about trials and tribulations, about doing everything right and stuff still not working out. And just, it teaches you all of those lessons, those values, being prepared, responsibility. So that's what I really want to be able to hand on down to him. So, I mean, when you were talking about that, like it literally gives me goosebumps thinking about when I'm at the age where I get to see those boys doing oh man, that's the dream.
It's amazing. And I have my youngest Jack, he's turning 7. He's there too. And he's just, it is pretty watching them play with the fire and all these. Yeah. It brings back memories as a kid, and it's been huge for sure. Okay. Well, before we wrap it up, even though I think this is going to be your podcast.
I don't know. You called this one. You just asked me to do an intro for you.
Before we wrap it up, because we are in this amazing place, and a lot of people have been saying this. Joe, quick question. How do they become a member?
Yeah.
What are like a couple of the different levels? What should they be doing? I mean, might as well we're here. Let's promote.
First and foremost, I mean, yeah, if you're here, obviously there'll be members walking around. People can get signed up. If you're not here physically, and those at home watching, just go on Wild Sheep Society, BC.com, I believe is the website. We can maybe throw it on the, and there'll be drop downs, and you can talk about all the various different memberships. Obviously, there's individual memberships, there's annual memberships, and then there's lifetime memberships, and then you can get into the tiers of the lifetime memberships. After your original lifetime membership, there's actually opportunities to get charitable tax receipts as well, which is a big driver. And then a new one we launched last year is the half curl membership, which is for it's a lifetime membership for our members under 18. And that's a $500 membership, but then you're a lifetime member up until your 18th birthday. Don Stevens, we're sitting across from his booth right now. All of our half curl members were presented with a beautiful plaque and a custom-made knife from Don Stevens. Cool. So they all get that. And again, it's talking about, passing the torch. We're hoping that, creating these special events, there's going to be special hunts drawn just for our youth, being able to, prizes, raffles, everything and then throughout the year, we're going to have different events for our youth as well. But create that healthy funnel where we bring people up in this culture and show that it really is a family environment. It's a community. There's so much more to it. So that's a big thing. But yeah, everything is available online. Go on the website, check it out. And it's not one of those things where you have to have a ton of money to have an impact. You can sign up for just a 1-year membership. And I did, I think 2 or 3 just 1-year memberships before I decided to be a life member. And now I'm a Monarch. So I took a few steps after that. And now both my boys are half curl members. And it's just one of those things where it's a group that I started on the outside and I saw the dollars that I put in directly transition or translate into boots on the ground. And then as I started going to the AGMs and started to go to these things, you really do see, it's not like some of those other organizations where 20 cents on the dollar actually makes it to the cause. Yeah. So I started feeling better and better about it. And it's like, okay, well, I'm putting money there. I want to put my time there. And it's just one of those communities where once you get your toe in the door, you don't want to leave and you want to do more, become more involved. You want to be a part of it more and more and more. And so just get started, get online, sign up for just a year membership, come down, check it out, see what it's all about. And it's just one of those places that you look forward to being every year.
And to your point about toe in the door there, every year I do the annual membership. I think it's $60 or whatever it is. So today my wife and I got the lifetime membership. You put that challenge out yesterday. Of course, you kind of cheated a little bit with Wyatt there, but that's good. That's good. It was a good challenge for everyone. And at the half curl, when they turn 18, they get a lifetime membership at half price.
So the $500 fee of the half curl membership is basically your deposit on your life member. So then once you get to 18, there will be a coming of age ceremony. You'll be notified. This can be your year. There will be a presentation. They get to go up on stage and they just pay the remaining balance. And then they're a member for life. And you've had access to all those resources, all of those opportunities. I mean, we're giving away a guided whitetail hunt. And there's only, I think, less than 20 members right now that qualify. Both of my sons don't qualify for that hunt because they're under 10. Right. It's only the 10 to 18-year-olds. And those hunt opportunities are only going to get better year after year. So if you're going to sign up, you're going to qualify for that every year from now until your 18th birthday. And there's some great things. And I do want to say that was my challenge I issued. Wyatt was, I've checked that box. My challenge to myself to bring one member into the fold is on top of that. So that did not include Wyatt.
Giving you a hard time.
But
it was funny. The second you said it, I leaned over beside me. I said, he's got an easy one. All he's got to do is get Wyatt up there. He's got it set. And then he mentioned.
Yeah. And the other thing worth mentioning as well in talking about finances, obviously it's not always easy to do the full commitment. Yes, year after year, there's the annual ones. If you want to get into a lifetime, there's payment plans. So you can set it up on monthly plans or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be chipped away. And then once you're a life member, you can chip away to your different stages of Monarch year after year. There's different ways to contribute. It doesn't have to be a one-time purchase. It doesn't have to be that huge hit. You can stagger it out throughout the year for sure.
And I'll throw this out there too, because I'm sure this is going to come up. What if I don't hunt sheep? What if I don't hunt goats? What if I'm not a mountain hunter, etc.? I'm going to throw, this is just personal anecdotal stuff. So I was a lifetime member before I ever went on my first sheep hunt, or right around the same time, give or take. And I can tell you one thing, and obviously it's an amazing thing, the support system for our wildlife in and of itself. But hey, it's difficult to find people that want to actually do sheep hunting. It's difficult to find people that want to show you the way or learn from or so on and so forth. And I can tell you here, you hang out here, you become part of the society, you're going to meet, I'm not saying they're going to give you all their honey holes, but you're going to meet people that are, you can become friends with, go on sheep hunts, build that community. You can actually learn how to hunt. I mean, how many hunting university things did we have in the last couple days? Like 30 or 40 of them?
Still going on right now.
Exactly, right? So if you're looking, like, the price of admission to learn how to hunt these amazing animals and to overall be a part of the community that will help you teach and learn and maybe find that hunting partner that you need that will actually put those boots on and head up the mountain, is an amazing place to do it, for sure. Worth every penny just on that alone.
To add on top of that, you said, for individuals that want to get into hunting, but even individuals that don't intend to hunt, these funds go towards habitat restoration, towards disease prevention, education, things like that. That's what this money is going towards. It's one of those organizations, it's the money directly goes to boots on the ground efforts to making sure that our landscape have these wild animals on them for the future generations. So even if you don't intend to hunt, but you just love the outdoors, it's a phenomenal organization to get involved with on that basis alone. And then down the road, yes, maybe one day you'll get pulled into the fold and looped into going on a hunt or have an opportunity. But you don't have to be a hunter to come here and feel good about being here and feel good about what your money's doing, right? So.
Awesome.
Well said. I think we call it a wrap there.
Yeah. Thanks, boys. It's been great.
Thanks for having me.